This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. With free weekly content and free shipping over $100, you can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMuddstah. I'm also sponsored by Face to Face Games, Canada's premier Magic the Gathering store. Using the promo code MTGMuddstah will get you 5% off site-wide, with eligible orders getting free shipping Canada-wide. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game of Modern with Muddstah features Izzet Prowess and a mono black Cabal Coffers deck. Sam is playing his Izzet Prowess deck, which wants to cast very efficient creatures that have prowess on them, and then cast very efficient burn spells or draw spells to pump them up and cycle through his library to keep pumping them up even further. Arja is playing his mono black Cabal Coffers, which has a lot of hand disruption and tries to win off the back of an Archon of Cruelty. Sam wins the die roll and decides to be on the play. For openers, Sam keeps his 7, while Arja mulligans down to 6. Sam plays a Spirebluff Canal, and then pays a red for a Soulscar Mage. Arja plays a Swamp, and casts a Bloodchief Thirst, taking out the Mage. Sam has a Mountain for turn, and double drops with Monastery Swiftspear, and he swings them both at Arja for 2. Arja has the namesake for his deck, a Cabal Coffers for turn, and passes. Sam draws and casts Crash Through, and triggering Prowess on his Swiftspears. He then casts a third Swiftspear, which he must have drawn, and then loses 2 life to cast Gutshot, dealing 1 to Arja, and triggering Prowess again on the Swiftspears. Sam then goes at Arja, who Fatal pushes one of the bigger Swiftspears, but still takes 5. Arja untaps and plays a second Cabal Coffers. Sam draws and casts Manamorphose. He chooses to make double red, and draws, and pumps up his creatures with Prowess. We then see a Lightning Bolt, triggering Prowess again for a second time this turn. Sam then Lava Darts Arja, triggering Prowess yet again. Arja is pretty sure he's done for at this point though, and scoops it up, and they move to round 2. For sideboarding, they both decide to keep their 60 untouched, and we move to round 2 after they have a good shuffle up. This time around, Arja is on the play, and he mulligans down to 5, while Sam keeps his opening 7. Arja plays an Urborg, and casts Thoughtseize. This has him losing 2 life, and he picks Sam's Swiftspear to discard. Sam draws, and plays a Scalding Tarn. Arja just plays a Godless Shrine, which comes in tapped. At the end of turn, Sam cracks the Tarn, losing 1 for tap Steam Vents. Sam plays another tap Steam Vents on his turn, and passes. Arja has a Verdant Catacombs, passing. At the end of turn, Sam uses Lava Dart to deal 1 to Arja. Sam draws and casts an Expressive Iteration. He puts a card to hand, exiles a Spirebluff Canal, and bottoms a 3rd. He then plays and taps the canal for a Crash Through, drawing a card and passing. Arja plays a Bojuka Bog for turn, which comes in tapped, and exiles Sam's graveyard. Sam casts a Sprite Dragon, and moves to swing it at Arja. Before damage, Sam loses 2 life to cast Gutshot for the Phyrexian cost, dealing 1 to Arja, and puts a +1/+1 counter onto the dragon. He then pays 2 more life for Mutagenic Growth, pumping the dragon by +2/+2 and adding a second counter. It then deals 5 to Arja. Arja plays a Cabal Coffers for turn, and taps 1 black to cast a Bloodchief's Thirst to try and destroy the dragon. Sam uses a Vapor Snag to save it, losing 1 life and bouncing it back to hand. Sam's turn has him tapping 2 for the bounce Sprite Dragon again, and he swings it at Arja. Arja is ready with a Fatal Push though, but Sam saves it once more with another Vapor Snag, losing 1. Arja plays a Blast Zone for turn, putting a counter onto it and passing. Sam replays the Sprite Dragon on his turn, and swings it at Arja for 1. At the end of turn, we see Arja activating his Blast Zone to put a counter onto it. Arja suspends a Profane Tutor in his main phase, and passes. Sam goes to combat and swings the dragon. With no blockers declared, Sam casts a lightning bolt to deal 3 and adds a counter to the dragon. Before damage is done though, Arja activates and sacrifices Blast Zone to blow up all the 2-drops, and Sam then passes. Arja takes down the Profane Tutor and plays a Bloodstained Mire and passes. Sam has a different Sprite Dragon this time around and Lava Darts Arja. This puts a counter onto his dragon, and he follows up by paying 2 life for a gut shot, dealing 1 to Arja's face, and putting another counter onto the Sprite Dragon. He then sacrifices his Steam Vents to cast the Lava Dart from his yard, dealing another 1 and adding another counter. He then swings it, but Arja stops it with a Fatal Push. Arja casts his Profane Tutor after removing the last counter, and goes to find an Archon of Cruelty. He plays Castle Lochthwain, and is able to cast the Archon after activating Cabal Coffers and tapping a land. Sam loses 3, discards a card, and has nothing to sacrifice, while Arja gains 3 and draws a card. He then passes after that. Sam draws and casts a Bedlam Reveler, and with the ability on the stack, pays 2 life to pump it with Mutagenic Growth. He then draws 3 cards after discarding his empty hand. He doesn't have an answer for the Archon though, and scoops it up to Arja. For game 3, Sam decides to bring in 3 Alpine Moons and Jace the Mind Sculptor, while cutting some of his less efficient burn spells. This time around, Sam is on the play, and he mulligans down to 6 while Arja keeps his first opening 7 for once. Sam plays a Scalding Tarn, cracking it and losing 1 to find a mountain. He then casts a Soulscar Mage. Arja plays a Swamp for turn, and taps it to cast a Bloodchief's Thirst to take out the Soulscar Mage. In a very similar turn, Sam has another Scalding Tarn, and then casts another Soulscar Mage. Arja plays a Bloodstained Mire, cracking it for a Swamp. He then suspends a Profane Tutor, and passes after that. During the end step, Sam sacrifices his Scalding Tarn to find a Steam Vents. In his main phase, Sam casts a Crash Through, drawing a card and making the mage have Trample and triggering its prowess. He then plays a Scalding Tarn and drops an Alpine Moon, triggering prowess again. He names Cabal Coffers as it comes in. Sam then cracks the Tarn to go and find another mountain, and he taps the mountain for a red for a gut shot to deal 1 and trigger prowess. He then pays 2 life to cast Mutagenic Growth on the mage, pumping it by +2/+2 and triggering prowess again. He then goes to combat, hitting Arja for 7. Arja downticks the suspend counters on his Profane Tutor and plays an Urborg and passes. Sam draws and goes at Arja for 1. Arja removes the last counter on his tutor and goes to find a card to put to hand. He then draws for turn and plays a Cabal Coffers before passing. Sam casts his second Soulscar Mage and swings the one that can at Arja for 1. Arja responds by casting a March of Wretched Sorrow, putting 2 into the X and exiling Thoughtseize for 2 more. This lets him kill the mage and gains him 4 life. Arja's turn has him playing a Cascading Cataracts for turn, and he then taps 5 mana for a Golos. He goes into his library to find a land card and put it to field tapped, and he puts out a Blast Zone before passing. Sam just draws and passes. Arja plays a Verdant Catacomb and passes as well. Sam draws but can't really swing through Golos right now, so he bolts Arja for 3. He then casts the reduced costing Bedlam Reveler and discards nothing as he has no hand, and then draws a fresh 3. He passes after that. During the end of turn, Arja casts Fatal Push to take out the Soulscar Mage. Arja plays another Verdant Catacombs, and then uses the Cataracts to make him 1 of each color, and taps 2 more lands to help activate Golos. This has him exiling his top 3, and hitting 2 lands and a Bloodchief's Thirst. He sadly can't kick the Thirst, and just passes with the 3 cards in exile. Sam draws and taps 4 for his sideboarded Jace the Mind Sculptor. He uses the 0 to Brainstorm, and passes after that. Arja untaps and draws. He taps like he did last turn to activate Golos, this time hitting a land, another Golos, and an Archon. He casts the Golos and sacrifices the new one. This lets him go and find a Bojuka Bog to field, and he exiles Sam's graveyard. He then casts the Archon, which has Sam lose 3, discard a card, and he sacrifices the Jace, while Arja gains 3 and draws a card. Arja then plays an Urborg, sacrificing the earlier one, and he then taps it for black. He uses that for a Thoughtseize, losing 2 life, and making Sam discard Expressive Iteration. He then passes after that. Sam draws, but knows he can't fight through the Archon triggers, scooping it up, and Arja wins the match. Game review time. So I'm pretty sure that Mono Black Cabal Coffers is not a tier 1 archetype. It was pretty cool to see though, and seeing just how powerful the Archon of Cruelty is, I'm kinda sad I didn't pick some up for my EDH decks. The deck seems to run a ton of removal and hand hate, and you basically just disrupt your opponent's plans until you can resolve it, which is a kind of neat but linear plan. Izzet Prowess, on the other hand, I think is considered up there in terms of playability. It kinda gives me burn vibes since all you're doing is blasting face and turning things sideways, with a bit of card draw smattered throughout. I like seeing stuff like Bedlam Reveler getting played, although I think as far as beaters go, a Murktide Region is probably just better. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.